All right, today we're cracking open the official blueprint for one of the world's most powerful nations, the Constitution of the People's Republic of China. So what does it actually say? Let's dive in and find out. Right off the bat, the document itself makes this incredibly bold declaration of its own power. This one line right from the preamble sets the stage for everything else. It establishes this text as the absolute supreme legal authority in the entire country. So here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the preamble, which tells a story. Then we'll dig into the state's general principles, check out the rights and duties of citizens, see how the highest organ of power is structured, and wrap up with the document's own claim to supreme authority. First up, the preamble. And this isn't just some dry legal introduction. It's a carefully constructed narrative. It's the nation's official history and ideology, all rolled into one, and it frames the entire document. The Constitution lays out this very specific historical journey. It kicks off after 1840, painting a picture of a declining feudal China. Then it moves to the 1911 revolution, and its grand finale is, of course, 1949, the founding of the People's Republic under the Communist Party. And according to the preamble, all of this success is thanks to the Communist Party and its constantly evolving set of guiding principles. It's this ideological chain, starting with Marxism-Leninism and stretching all the way up to the present with Xi Jinping thought. Okay, so that's the official history, but how does that story actually shape the country today? Well, that brings us right to Chapter 1, the general principles. This is where the Constitution defines the fundamental nature of the state itself. Article 1 gets right to the heart of it. It defines China as a socialist state under the people's democratic dictatorship. Now, what does that mean? In essence, it's a state led by the working class, built on a foundation of an alliance between workers and peasants. Now check this out, because this is a really big deal. This line was actually added in the 2018 amendment. It explicitly elevates the leadership of the Communist Party to the defining feature of the entire system. It cements the party's central role right there in the very first article of the Constitution. So if the party's leadership is the defining feature, how do the people fit in? Well, Article 2 says that all power belongs to the people. And the way they exercise that power is through a whole system of people's congresses, from the local level all the way up to the National People's Congress. And the whole thing is organized around this core principle from Article 3, democratic centralism. The easiest way to think about it is this. The people elect the congresses, that's the democratic part. Then, those congresses have centralized authority over every other part of the state, and that's the centralism part. Okay, so that's the state. But what about the individual citizen? Where do they fit into this picture? Let's jump into Chapter 2, which spells out the fundamental rights and, just as importantly, the required duties of every citizen. This chapter is really all about balance, or you could say two sides of the same coin. On one side, you've got these fundamental rights: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, personal dignity, the right to work. But on the other side, you've got a set of very clear duties: safeguarding the country, serving in the military, and paying taxes. And here is the crucial catch. Article 51 puts all of those individual rights into a very specific context. It says that when you exercise your freedoms, you absolutely must not harm the interests of the state, of society, or of the collective. This line explicitly frames individual rights as being secondary to the interests of the group. So who holds the ultimate authority in this whole structure? Who's at the very top of the pyramid? Let's take a look at Chapter 3, which details the state institutions starting right at the peak. Article 57 couldn't be more clear. It establishes the National People's Congress, or the NPC, as the highest organ of state power. In theory, it's the top of the food chain. All other major state bodies are supposed to answer to it. And when they say highest organ of power, they are not kidding. The powers listed in Article 62 are absolutely massive. The NPC can literally amend the Constitution itself. It oversees the Constitution's implementation, elects the president, picks the premier. It even gets to decide on questions of war and peace. So how hard is it to actually change this foundational document? Well, Article 64 makes it clear that it's not a simple majority vote. To amend the Constitution, you need a supermajority. More than 2/3 of all the delegates in the NPC have to agree. That, as you can imagine, is a very high bar to clear. And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. Let's revisit the legal power of the document itself and see exactly how it enforces its own supremacy. Article 5 basically lays down the law for all other laws. It establishes this clear legal hierarchy. As it says right there, no other law or regulation is allowed to go against the Constitution. It's the ultimate trump card in the entire legal system. It's the final word. And the text makes it plain that this rule applies to absolutely everyone and everything. All state organs, the military, political parties, companies, they all have to follow it. But the real kicker is that last line. No organization or individual is privileged to be beyond the Constitution. No exceptions. So, in the end, this document is so much more than just a legal text. By writing a specific history, a specific ideology, and a specific power structure into law, it provides the state's own official answer to the question of its identity. It's not just a rule book, it's the nation's authorized autobiography. So the real question is, what does it mean when a country's story and its laws are one and the same?